Good morning. The news today, a bipartisan gun control package passes in the Senate. The House is set to vote today with passage expected.
The Supreme Court decision striking down New York State's concealed carry restrictions is receiving mixed reactions. The ruling could have implications for other states with similar laws.
A New York councilwoman criticized for her statements on Drag Queen Story Hour. Now she's clarifying her stance in an NTD interview.
And H&M shuts down its flagship Shanghai store, its latest closure in China, where the demand dropped amid lockdowns and consumer backlash.
And an expert from AAA explains the importance of avoiding distracted driving and what you can do to steer clear of it.
Good morning. Welcome to NTD Daybreak. I'm Kevin Hogan.
Good morning, and I'm Evelyn Lee. Good morning and happy Friday. It's June 24th, and today the Democrat-controlled House is going to vote on a bipartisan gun control package. It passed the Senate late last night, and it seems quite likely it'll get approved. The final Senate floor vote on the bill, called the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, was 65 to 33. 15 Republicans, all Democrats, and 2 allied independents voted yes. Both GOP leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer support the bill. McConnell says the measure is a common sense package and will protect the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. Here's what senators had to say on the bill's passage.
What are we doing? Why are we here? We're answering those questions today. Not fully, but with enough force that anxious moms and dads and kids all across this nation can wake up tomorrow and be a little bit more confident that the adults who run this country actually care about their safety.
Passing this gun safety bill is truly significant, and it's going to save lives.
Those who say we need to infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens under the Constitution in order to make good policy are offering a false choice. Passing good public policy and supporting the Constitution are not mutually exclusive.
Progress is better than nothing. This measure will save lives.
Although there is some pushback on the Republican side, the bill seems set to pass in the House of Representatives. Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise have signaled, though, they will vote no on the measure. Scalise says the bill is an effort to slowly chip away at law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights.
Because of a Democrat majority, the bill is expected to quickly pass the lower chamber and advance to the president's desk to be signed into law. The Supreme Court's ruling yesterday striking down New York State's concealed carry restrictions is getting mixed reactions. The court ruled 6-3 that the U.S. Constitution protects an individual's right to carry a handgun in public for self-defense. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg tells us more.
The specific issue before the court was whether the state denying individuals applications for concealed carry licenses for self-defense violates the U.S. Constitution.
It's a huge victory for the lawful gun owners of New York State.
The gun law requiring people show a proper cause to get a concealed carry permit in New York has been in place since 1913. Proper cause being defined as a special need for self-protection distinguishable from that of the general community, such as being in a profession that puts a person at special risk. 2 firearms owners and the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, the state's NRA affiliate, challenged the law.
And it's going to be a big decision with big impacts in California and New Jersey. I don't think it's either going to be as immediate as people are concerned with or as dramatic as people are concerned with.
Tom King, president of the association that helped take the case to the Supreme Court, praised the decision.
It's been, it's been going on for 5 years, and finally we were successful. I mean, it was a great day. And it's a great day for freedom in the United States.
King says the ruling will change the playing field, and he's looking forward to working with the decision behind him.
I would say that the crime is probably going to go down. There's an old saying that an armed society is a polite society. And I think you're going to find that's the truth.
New York Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul condemned the court's decision, calling it outrageous and reckless. The court ruling lets states prohibit guns in sensitive places, such as courthouses and legislative buildings. Hochul says she will move to expand on that aspect by pursuing conforming gun licensing policies and measures that define sensitive places. The list could include public transit systems, school zones, bars, and parks. King says he would like to see as few places as possible deemed sensitive and will file legal challenges if that happens.
I don't see how they can justify that, other than it's a liberal democratic plank in the platform to disarm the people of the United States.
The Supreme Court ruling could affect similar restrictions in other states. California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island have similar rules around concealed carry. Democrats from those states are showing concern.
The Supreme Court decision in Bruin is a step backwards. It does make communities and neighborhoods less safe.
In Hawaii, a state with some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, lawmakers could be forced to put a framework in place to allow concealed carry.
It is definitely a good thing that more responsible citizens carry firearms for self-protection because it sends a message to criminals that not everyone is a victim anymore.
For John DeLoca, the owner of a gun range in Queens, the ruling means more customers. He says people should be prepared and able to defend themselves. It is yet to be seen what steps will be taken by states with similar laws. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Senator Marco Rubio and others introduced a bipartisan act on Thursday to protect Americans' personal data from foreign adversaries. It would give the Biden administration power to block exports of personal data to countries that pose national security risks, like China. The Protecting Americans' Data from Foreign Surveillance Act would create new protections against selling or transferring Americans' sensitive personal information. It thus denies export to high-risk foreign countries. The Secretary of Commerce would be directed to do two things. One is to identify categories of personal data that would be harmful to U.S. national security if exported. The second is to create a list of low-risk countries for unrestricted exports and require licenses for bulk exports in identified categories. As of now, it is legal for companies in China to buy large databases of sensitive information from data brokers. That data, containing movement and health records of millions of Americans, then risks being shared with the Chinese regime.
You may remember Vicky Palladino, the New York City Councilwoman who was denounced for what she said about Drag Queen Story Hour. Now she says what was a simple statement blew up in a way she did not expect. Here's NTD's Colin Frederickson with Vicky Palladino clarifying her stance on this issue.
It doesn't belong in our elementary schools or any of our schools. No, I stand firm against that.
Vicky Palladino, a councilwoman in Queens, New York, sparked controversy after criticizing a city school program that includes drag queens.
I meant no harm to anybody in the city council whatsoever. No one should have taken this personally. Nobody. It's just my opinion about a simple subject such as Drag Queen Story Hour. Think about this. With all the trouble this city has got, that they are going to concentrate so much time on me and Drag Queen Story Hour? We've got very serious issues in this city. And that's what needs the attention. Drag queens have been around for decades and decades and decades. It's adult entertainment. It's lots of times men who dress as women. And it's something people would go to nightclubs to go and see. You know, we had something called burlesque many, many years ago. So it would be kind of like along those lines.
She was met with criticism from several council colleagues, and co-chairs of the council LGBTQ+ caucus asked the council to remove and formally censure Palladino.
It's way too early for kids to be exposed to such things, in my opinion. I think my district represents somewhat of a conservative eye on this. But most important of all, let's remember what our kids go to school for. Our kids go to school to learn how to read. They go to school to learn how to write. They go to school to learn their arithmetic and history.
Mayor Eric Adams defended the program. In his words, quote, "We must use our education system to educate. The goal is not only for our children to be academically smart, but also emotionally intelligent." However, Palladino thinks it should be up to the parents to decide. But opinions are divided. While many parents are supportive, there are many others who increasingly protest against such efforts.
So when they go to the library, it's freedom. In other words, it's up to you as a parent if you want to bring your child there or not. It wasn't part of the curriculum in school. So now they have allotted X amount of dollars to the side so that it can become part of the young children's education.
She says in her district, parents will not have to worry about that.
I took the pulse of my district, of course, and the pulse of my district is no. You know, they want their kids to excel in the core, in what school's supposed to be. They are against this adult entertainment.
And to the people accusing her of hate speech, she says she doesn't hate anybody.
Everybody's free to be who they want to be. It's okay. It's more than okay. It's perfectly fine. It just doesn't belong in the classroom.
Colin Frederickson, NTD News.
The Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, is investigating a technical failure that led to brand new train cars in Boston being taken off the line. After the Boston Public Transit removed the orange and red line cars from service, the Transportation Authority spokesperson Lisa Battiston said the incident was caused by a battery failure. However, two rail experts say that considering the circumstances and damage caused, it was most likely a battery explosion. The FTA investigation has determined 4 safety problems to address, with understaffing being highlighted as a major issue. The train cars were built at a manufacturing plant in Springfield that's run by a Chinese-owned company.
Safety-related problems are becoming a trend with these particular cars.
Just last month, they were pulled off the tracks after a bolt was found to be improperly installed in the brakes.
The manufacturer of the new trains is C&R Ma Corporation, a Chinese state-owned enterprise who won the project in 2014.
The Boston Public Transit is still waiting for hundreds of new train cars to replace the current ones that are more than 50 years old. Coming up, more pressure for UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his party with recent by-elections not going their way. With travel restrictions easing in Europe, more people are catching up with their travel plans, but COVID layoffs are leading to long airline delays and cancellations. Stay tuned for more right here on NTD Daybreak. The UK Conservative Party lost 2 by-elections, casting further doubt on Boris Johnson's strength as party leader.
It's not acceptable that a quarter of our children in Wakefield live in poverty. It's not acceptable that hundreds of people leave A&E every month without being treated because of record NHS waiting times. And it's not acceptable that convictions for crimes like robbery have fallen by almost half in the past 5 years. People in Wakefield and across the country are sick of the deceit and the dishonesty of this government.
Our country is crying out for leadership. I served as an officer in the British Army for 10 years, Mr. Johnson, and I can tell you that leadership means acting with decency and integrity. It means keeping your word. It means setting an example and putting other people's needs before your own. I served alongside friends who personified these values and laid down their lives in the service of their country. And yet your behaviour, Mr. Johnson, makes a mockery of leadership.
Meanwhile, the Liberal Democrats won the traditionally conservative seat of Tiverton and Honiton in England's southwest. The Labour Party took back the Northern England constituency of Wakefield, claimed by the Tories in 2019. The by-elections were triggered by resignations of Conservative lawmakers, one over allegations of sexual misconduct and the other due to charges of sexual assault. Following the results of the by-election, Conservative Party Chairman Oliver Dowden resigned, stating someone must take responsibility. The by-election results are coming at a bad time for Johnson. He just barely survived a no-confidence vote, while the UK is going through their worst cost of living crisis in a generation.
And in Europe, air travel is back and demand is up. But for a COVID-damaged industry, this has created long lines, lost luggage, and flight cancellations.
The last few years have been hard on the travel industry.
Airlines have gone through a very difficult time over the past 2 years, have had to furlough people, lay off people. And with demand coming back now very quickly, and perhaps a bit quicker than we all expected, they find themselves short of staff.
The pandemic has forced many airline staff into other sectors.
And all these people have found new jobs with higher wages, with more stable contracts. Now everybody wants to travel again, but the employees do not want to come back.
European airports saw nearly 2,000 flights cancelled, while the UK saw 376 cancellations. Long training periods could mean the easing of tensions could still be months away.
They've been asking government to speed up security checks or maybe find other ways of doing that. They've started training staff before they've been security cleared. So that all helps.
With London airports asking airlines to limit passengers, Brexit is making recruitment even more difficult.
Previously, they would have gotten staff over from the EU into the UK. That is no longer possible because of Brexit.
In Sweden, lines were so long travelers were arriving 5 hours before the flight. In the UK, unclaimed luggage covered the floor. And amid labor shortages, labor strikes have been affecting flights in Belgium, the UK, and France.
So increasing pay might help. The problem is, of course, that airlines and airports alike have found themselves in 2 years of losses and don't have that much financial muscle at the moment either.
However, for Americans, there is a positive. The dollar has strengthened against the euro and pound, making travel to Europe more affordable.
Google says spyware has been used to hack Apple and Android phones overseas. The tech giant shared the news in a report Thursday. It says the Italian company RCS Lab is behind hacking tools that spy on devices' private messages and contacts. The tools were used on smartphones in Italy and Kazakhstan. Google says it has alerted users of its Android operating system about the spyware and has taken steps to protect them. Apple has not reacted to the report. RCS Lab says its products and services comply with European rules and are used to help law enforcement agencies investigate crimes.
Now, Nike is making a full exit from Russia. The move comes 3 months after suspending operations there. Yesterday, Nike joined other major Western brands like McDonald's and Google in exiting Russia completely. Now, foreign companies that want out of Russia face possible new laws in the coming weeks. The laws could allow Moscow to seize assets and impose criminal penalties. But that encouraged some businesses to accelerate their exit. For Nike, which gets less than 1% from its revenue from Ukraine and Russia combined, the move is largely symbolic.
And H&M has shut down its flagship store in downtown Shanghai. The 3-story building was boarded up on Friday. Demand has slumped in China amid lockdowns and consumer backlash. Shanghai, as China's commercial hub, has been through a strict 2-month lockdown, seriously impacting its supply chain and consumers. However, the Chinese regime is still holding on to its strict lockdown policies. Many Chinese consumers have stopped buying H&M products after the company expressed concerns about forced labor in the Xinjiang region. Other brands that publicly rejected Xinjiang cotton have also suffered, with Chinese netizens calling for boycotts and Chinese celebrities refusing to work with them. But the backlash against H&M, the first foreign retailer to express concerns, has been particularly harsh. Unlike other brands, its products remain unavailable on major Chinese e-commerce sites.
Up next, an expert from AAA explains why it's so important to avoid distracted driving and what you can do to avoid it. And from small wiener dogs to huge mastiffs, thousands of purebred dogs from around the world gathered in Madrid. Watch them barking and preening their way to the Best Dogs Awards. That and more after the break.
As summer's travel season approaches, despite gas prices, people will still be going on vacation, which means a lot of driving, and that may mean distractions on the road. NTD's Jackie Rios talked to an expert from AAA about why it's so important to avoid distracted driving.
Most of us are guilty of distracted driving, but just a few seconds of distraction can lead to tragedy on the road. So what exactly is distracted driving, and what can you do to avoid it? The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, defines distracted driving as any activity that takes away attention from driving. Those include talking or texting on your cell phone, eating and drinking, talking to people inside your vehicle, and adjusting the stereo or navigational system.
Do you have any clue why I'm stopping you?
When a driver is distracted, they develop a tunnel vision, and they are missing some very important things in front of them. They could be missing pedestrians crossing the street, children playing on a residential roadway, other vehicles, and they're putting everybody at risk. When you drive distracted, this is not a victimless crime. It's not just yourself that you're putting at risk. You're putting all road users at risk, other drivers, bicyclists, pedestrians.
Shoup explained why texting is one of the biggest dangers.
The true triple threat is using that smartphone behind the wheel. And the reason for that is when you are texting while driving, it is taking your eyes off of the roadway, it's taking your hands off of the steering wheel, and it's a cognitive distraction. It's taking your mind off of focusing on the road ahead.
And according to AAA, distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures more than 1,000 people every day in America. But the numbers could be higher, as distracted driving often goes unreported and is difficult to determine as the cause of the crash.
You don't have to drive too far here in Southern California on any roadway to see people of all ages driving distracted. It's not just teenagers or younger drivers like most people think. You can actually find mature drivers, people who are experienced, who should know better, that are behind the wheel looking down at that smartphone. You know, people in their 40s, their 50s.
Doug mentioned during the pandemic, AAA saw an increase in dangerous driving activities even though there were less people on the road.
We know that people between the ages of 20 and 24 years old make up the greatest number of distracted driving related fatalities and serious injuries. However, everybody, unfortunately, is guilty of being distracted when behind the wheel.
As people gear up to take their summer vacation trips, AAA has some advice to avoid what they call driving intoxicated. Those include put it away, know where you're going, pull over, ask passengers for help, be a good passenger, and don't be a distraction. Jackie Rios, NTD News, Los Angeles.
And over in Madrid, thousands of purebred dogs from around the world gathered at the International Dog Show yesterday to compete for the Best Dog Awards.
He did what he usually does, winning.
From small dachshunds to huge mastiffs, over 15,000 purebred dogs from dozens of countries barked and preened at the World Dog Show. The dogs will battle across 70 rings in front of international referees until Sunday. Madrid's contest has a total of 250 breeds recognized by the International Canine Federation. Let's take a look at some of the contenders. This is the third time that Spain is hosting the World Dog Show. It was scheduled in 2020, but was postponed because of the pandemic.
Those are some well-groomed pooches. I wonder if Shiba Inus are in the competition. They're purebred dogs, you know, and they're one of my favorites, as you could probably tell.
Oh, they are cute though. Oh yes, I'm a total dog lover as well, but yeah.
What's your favorite?
I don't have a favorite. I love all dogs.
Okay.
All right. So that's all for today's program. Thanks for watching. I'm Evelyn Lee. Have a great weekend.
And I'm Kevin Hogan.